Anakin, I trusted you. Oh. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Between a Pot and a Hard Place. I'm Stephen Colton.
And hey, I'm Chris Kirkpatrick.
Yeah, and we took a couple weeks off. It's nice to take a break once in a while and refresh and catch up on shows.
I feel like that's been. I took some time off from work here the last week and a half, so that's what I've been doing, is just simply binge watching everything.
Yeah, there's a lot I haven't checked out yet. Like I totally went off the radar or off my radar that Umbrella Academy had released. They're not the last season, I don't know, but like the
Season
latest
3.
one.
Season 3.
And I haven't checked that yet. My Netflix just ran out. I got it to watch Stranger Things, so I'm gonna have to renew that in just a few days for the last 2 bits of Stranger Things. And while I have it, I'll probably watch Umbrella Academy. I avoided that show for so long until friends hounded me about it, and I watched it. I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Why did you avoid Umbrella Academy?
I don't know. It seemed because they were all like I watched the first 5 or 10 minutes of the first episode, and it's like, "Okay, children, I'm British. Look at me, I'm British." I'm like, "Oh no, not this." I didn't want like an all British. But that was a few years ago. I'm like, okay, I'm past that. Plus the rest of the show, I didn't watch it long enough to be like, okay, this is just the first little bit. It's just the one guy. Not everybody is British. And I also, from that point to between that point and now, I learned to appreciate a lot more British stuff, like British comedy. I love all these shows that I can't remember the names of now, but that I watched and loved. But yeah, all right, let's do this. Yeah, let's do this. So if you noticed in the beginning, we showed this Batman picture. It's a Lego Batmobile, and it looks like I'm Robin, and you are the Joker. Which
that's cool.
That's pretty cool. And the reason we're showing that is because I posted a few days ago that I got the Lego Batmobile, and I didn't realize it was on camera. I was like, I got the Lego Batmobile, and I'm gonna. Oh, it's already on camera, but. Yeah, I bought this the other day, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I've seen it in the stores before and kind of put it off. And finally, I was like, I have to buy something. So
I've got to say that I really like the classic Batmobile, as a kid. First really enjoying the Adam West series of Batman. That was the first Batmobile that I ever kind of got accustomed to. I think when we see that, most Batmobiles these days are these hot rods or military vehicles or those kind of things. It's cool seeing something that is much more classic and simple.
He's doing the thing. He's walking up the building. Yeah, this is the Adam West Lego Batman. And it's kind of weird when you take his helmet off. He has eyes, but they're under his cowl eyes. So it's like, okay, so when you cover him up, he can't really see. He's a sonar, I guess. And the Joker is pretty cool. This took me 2 or 3 hours to build. And in the comments on the page or group or whatever, everybody's like, "Oh, well, are you going to do a live unboxing?" I was like, that would take. I probably still would be on that video right now, but it just takes so long to actually build these that I think I forget how many pieces. I have the box somewhere, but I also love this Joker.
That's cool, but that doesn't look anything like me.
No, we need to get little. I need to print off little pictures of us and glue to the Lego. I also love how Lego heads have 2 expressions, one on the back and then one on the front.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can flip them around and make the hair get back on there. Yeah, the car took a little while to build. But I always love these. Oh, his gun fell out of his hand. Now it's going to be all night of me trying to put this back in here. Should have never taken them out. But I love the detail on this thing.
That's great.
There's a little trunk on it that you can open up and put extra pieces in. These are little hood cannons that actually shoot out the little Lego studs.
No way.
Yeah,
no way.
You can take off these hood pieces. I think it's one of these pieces here. And attach those on the front, and there's a button you just press, and it shoots one out. And I love the instruction booklet because it has a little picture of an eye getting hit and has a line through it. Don't do that. It's like if I wanted to hit myself in the eye, I'm not allowed to. And I love when you build it, Well, I wonder if insurance covers that.
I don't think so.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I fixed it. Yeah, when you build this on, it's like, okay, the back pieces, the little wings or whatever are flat, but they also have a hinge that bend them out kind of like they're supposed to be. And they have the little exhaust cannon thing, and one of my favorite things about it is the little bat symbol on the wheels.
That's cool.
You can't really see that too good, but and they have this nice little like display plaque thing, this Batmobile 1966. It has the specs: length 18 feet 9 inches, width 7 feet from the front, acceleration 0 to 90 in 5.2 seconds. The max speed is 350 miles an hour. The fuel type, bat fuel. But yeah, I love this.
350 miles an hour. That's pretty crazy.
I don't think we ever saw Adam West drive that thing that fast, but
well, I mean, how would we know? They always did it they always sped it up.
yeah. But I love how well it's supposed to just attach. There it goes. So I keep breaking it. The little plaque fell off. They don't make Legos like they used to.
They don't.
But yeah, you can put this on here and display it so you can spin it, or you could just leave it off completely.
That's cool.
I just thought that was cool, and it would have been fun to like do a build live. But
well, since we are doing the yeah,
it's pretty funny.
I know. Hey, so since we're doing show and tell, I had brought a couple of things. This first one here, I have my own vibranium shield for Iron Man. It's one of my daughters gave this to me for Father's Day. Hopefully, I don't need to use it anytime soon, but looks pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Since we're talking about Star Wars and Obi-Wan, I've got this one, Yoda Best.
I get it. I'm like, Yoda Best? Like, better than who? And I'm like, oh, Yoda Best.
Yes.
Took me a second.
I mean, he is pretty amazing. And then, last but not least, letters of my name. I'll do this one first. So, it's a 3D hologram.
That's pretty cool.
So that one's the C.
That's pretty awesome.
And here's the K.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that before.
It looks really awesome. So I'm now looking for a space in my bedroom where I could, display it.
That's my problem with all these toys I keep buying. Like not too long ago, I don't know if I showed this to anybody, but the Skeletor figure.
Yeah.
And this is from the Kevin Smith's Masters of the Universe series on Netflix. So that's pretty cool. I just thought that was awesome. It was a clearance item, so I'm like, I have to get this. And I know this has been on here before, but since we're going to be talking about Obi-Wan, we're going to let Darth Vader take over, and I'm just going to be over here. Good evening. Obi-Wan never told you about your father. No. I also watched episode 4 the other day after, I guess it was Wednesday night, when the last episode of Obi-Wan, when I watched it, I was like, okay, I got to watch episode 4 now. And then I started watching Empire Strikes Back, which lately I've been watching movies in bits. I'll watch 10 or 15 minutes, eat something, do something else, watch another 15 or 20 minutes. That only works with movies I've seen 100 times.
Right.
If it's something I've seen once or twice, I'm going to be like, I have to watch it all the way through. But I loved Obi-Wan so much. I didn't know if I was going to like that show as much as I did. And some of the things they do in that show, the way they have the show, it's almost like better than ever with Star Wars. And people probably are like clicking off here now, like, it's terrible. It's anything Disney. I hate it. But I really like the relationship between like Ben, which he starts going by Ben in this, which I was like, yay, they told us how that happened. And Leia, and it makes more sense now. And A New Hope, how she's like, help me, Obi-Wan. Why would she randomly call some weird hobo in a cave? Well, because she fought with him when she was 10 years old.
Right. So. It definitely makes that connection. I know that there's been a lot of, people that are mad that that this kind of breaks canon with what we had already established. But I think they did a really good job, in my opinion, of giving us, again, I love Ewan McGregor. I think he's fantastic for the role.
Absolutely.
And so I think the part of the character that's interesting to me is the fact that, this is not a Ewan McGregor at the top of his game. This is a defeated, broken. He's got PTSD.
Ken Kenobi, that would be cool.
Yeah, but that's a part of it. That he's intentionally cut himself off from the Force.
Yeah.
In order to kind of mask his presence and be watchful over Luke, but not draw attention to himself.
Your powers are weak. Absolutely. I'm gonna open this can of water. This is water. It looks like a beer can, but it's water. I just wanted to say that so nobody thinks I'm sitting here getting drunk or anything. Like, hey, everybody, Star Wars. But no, it's actually carbonated water.
Okay, liquid death.
Yeah, liquid death, because what does it say? It murders your thirst. It's essentially like a sparkling water, just water with carbonation in it.
I mean, I feel like you're calling something liquid death and it's water. Might be a little bit of exaggeration.
Yeah, I mean, it's not flavored at all either. It's just straight up water from, I think it's from Austria. So I think Arnold Schwarzenegger made it, I think. No, he doesn't have anything to do with it, but it is from Austria. Like
that is a relief. So I was checking out a little bit about how Obi-Wan as a series has done. IMDb rates it as a 7.2 out of 10.
Oh, nice. That's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's not great, but
I still think it's kind of low for the series.
I would give it at least an 8.5.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I do believe that were there more episodes and more opportunities for them to develop the story more, I think that could have been higher. And I think the Rotten Tomatoes score reflects kind of what we're saying here. IMDb is 7.2 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes is an 83%. So yeah, sort of like an 8.5 is I think realistic.
Very insane. You're a sphere, Anakin. Well, yeah. I mean, I really liked it. I did. I know Vader didn't pop up till what, like the third episode, or maybe 4. I can't remember. It's either 3 or 4 that he pops up, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And the hunt for, like, he knows Obi-Wan is somewhere. He's like, I'm gonna find him, and it's like that story is so good, and it makes that scene at the end of A New Hope so much better too.
Yeah,
it's like I keep looking back at this figure. I'm like, I wish it had a gash in the helmet. Get another one and like pull the head off and break it and make a custom. I'm not sure what I can say about the show. I did like the development, or like the redevelopment, I guess, of Obi-Wan. He had to like reteach himself to be better,
right?
To get over this, like, oh, I'm so scared of Anakin. No, I don't think he was. At first, I thought he was scared of Darth Vader. Like, oh no, let me run away. But I'm like, you beat him twice. Well, once only in that in the timeline. He's only beaten him once. He beats him. He could have beaten him as an old man, but he chose to let him kill him. And that's a problem I have too. I was reading an article today about how Obi-Wan letting Vader kill him made no sense. And then the article explains that, it made perfect sense because he became more powerful, so he can come back as a Force ghost and teach Luke or help him. I'm like, he could have done that being alive. But they also said he let him kill himself, or not himself, but he let Vader kill him to distract Vader so that Luke and the others could get away. It's like, well, you could have just fought him and killed him and then let them get away. I don't know. He didn't have to die, basically, but it doesn't ruin it because it's pretty cool to have him as a ghost because nobody can kill him.
Yeah, I think there's a measure of symbolism in this. That Obi-Wan Kenobi, number one, is that Vader didn't kill him. He chose to die. Right? He literally, kind of put his hands up and let Vader kill him, but he disappeared. Right?
Yeah.
There was no blood, no body. He became a Force ghost immediately. there is that very Christ figure, that he sacrifices himself, and in a way he kind of gets reborn, right?
Yeah.
That idea that he lives on even after he dies. I think also it stole that victory from Vader, right?
Yeah.
It took the victory from him, that here Vader thought that he was getting revenge, and it really was like snatched right out of his hands.
He didn't really react that way in the beginning. He was just like, "What?" Poke with his foot, and like, "Oh well." Like, I don't know. I guess it was an old movie. It's in the 70s. Like, they're not going to have spectacular effects and dramatic. Although I did see this recut version of that whole scene in like stunning, like 4K and all this like new effects and stuff, and it looked amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved watching those movies again because Obi-Wan really got me into wanting to see the films again, and I really just skipped past the original or the prequel trilogy. But I didn't realize how far in advance they planned the first 3 episodes of the story, because I saw an interview I think right after Empire Strikes Back had released. It was Mark Hamill doing some sort of TV interview, and he's like, "Yeah, we've got like 3 more movies coming. It's going to focus on Darth Vader as a young boy, and in the 3rd episode, he was telling us stuff that most of it happened the way they were describing." I was like, wow, I didn't realize they planned these way back then. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like the best moments for me in the Obi-Wan series, but I don't want to give my favorites because that's at the very end.
Yeah, I've got to say that I think that we could really talk about kind of episode by episode.
Yeah, we could.
That probably be the best way. One of the things that was probably the biggest surprise, other than Vader, was the introduction of the Inquisitors, right?
Yes.
Were you familiar with the Inquisitors or knew who they were?
Not really. I think I might have heard of them at one point, but I didn't really know like much at all.
Really. Yeah, I mean, I think for me that was, that was a group that I did not know about. It was sort of like when they introduced the First Order in the follow-up movies.
Yeah.
But I thought that as a group, quite terrifying. That these are.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
These are essentially, Jedi hunters. They've dedicated their lives to going and searching them, hunting them down, and killing them. And you would think that would be very difficult to do.
Yeah.
They had talked about how the secret to catching a Jedi is patience.
Mm-hmm.
And because eventually who they are is going to show themselves. They can't help themselves, but go and help people. And
right.
That's what we see here in Tatooine is, the Inquisitors come in and they're ruthless.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, they're also, I mean, it not only are they highly supported, and supported by the Empire with everything they need, but they're also Force sensitive too, right?
Yeah, that's really cool.
So, I guess for me, I'd always wondered what's the difference between being an Inquisitor and being a Sith.
I guess it's a blend. I mean, or maybe it's like kind of like the Sith. Like maybe it's sort of like mall cops before the Sith. Like they're renting them out. Like, okay, now what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to this place and secure this and catch this person. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to minimize them and say they're like mall cops, but I mean,
right?
Private security.
Right. I mean, for me, it was just interesting. I really always thought there was a clear dichotomy. Either you were a Jedi or you were a Sith. There wasn't any gray area in between.
Right.
Right, where you're neither Jedi nor Sith. And that seemed to be the place where they were. I think also it just kind of let us know that how desperate they were to find Luke and the other Jedi, that they would go as far as Tatooine in order to hunt them down.
Yeah, and I love this scene where they come into what was it, this little saloon or
Right.
salon. So I almost said salon. They were getting haircuts and but yeah, they go in there and they're, where's the Jedi? And like, I'm thinking they're looking for Obi Wan at first, and which they are, kind of, but everybody's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then they push it more and more and more, and they're like, I'll kill you if you don't tell me. And then then you see he reveals himself and everything. You're like, oh no, it's him! Like, oh help! And I don't know, just the excitement, the build to that scene. It's like, who's it gonna be? Like, what? How many Jedi are there? Like, because they're still supposed to be all but extinct. Really, Obi-Wan's really the only one you think, because Luke is just 10 years old. He doesn't count. But and then they reveal later on into the series like how many Force sensitive people there are, and it's like I'm sitting here thinking like, am I Force sensitive? Like. But so far, nothing.
Yeah, you gotta keep practicing. I think what was really, I guess, sad, heartbreaking was just how deep Obi-Wan had fallen away from being a Jedi. I mean, not just changing his name to Ben, but all and not using his lightsaber, but even like. That job he had that you could tell is like soul crushing.
Yeah, they were getting ripped off. Because they would go to the guy at the end and like, here's what I did today. And I still never understood what they were doing. I thought it was like something along the lines of an oil rig or something like that. And he's like, yeah, here's everybody in line was like, here's my stuff for the day. And they're like, oh, you're only going to get like $2 or whatever. They're like, that's only half of what I'm supposed to get. Shut up or I'll kill you. It's like, that would be pretty torturous.
Right. I mean, I guess, this is not America where you got a guaranteed work time and working conditions and breaks. This is essentially a meat processing plant.
Okay, that's right. In the middle of it.
Yeah. And that joke when he's with the Jawa trading and he's like, you really do stink. That just would be a really gross job, and
it kind of would be.
It's something that he's done, I think, very intentionally, to allow him to hide. Certainly, that would be the last place anybody would have thought
that's true
that a Jedi would be.
Because I would think if I was looking for him, I'd be like, check that cave over there. I thought he was always hiding in a cave. Like, and you see the New Hope where the Sand People were coming after Luke, and it's like, oh, here's Obi-Wan to save him. And I thought he lived in that cave the entire time from episode 3 to that point. It's like, okay, he kind of did, but he had all this other stuff going on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think he still had to make some kind of a living.
Right.
And I say that like living in air quotes because, he's just kind of existing. So again, I thought I really did feel like, this is a very broken Obi-Wan, who has really lost. He's really lost hope.
And that was another thing too, because like when he meets up with Vader, at first he doesn't realize Anakin is alive. Which, well, depending on how you look at it, maybe he's not alive, but he thinks he kills Anakin in their last fight in Jedi Hell, basically. He's laying there all burned up, like, and he's like, oh, you were my brother, Anakin, bye, and all that. He leaves. He's like, at that point, he thinks Anakin's dead. I thought he knew he was alive. He just spared him because he didn't want to kill him. But then when he finds out, he's like, he's alive. That's when he really, like, his mind really starts to, like, go crazy. He's like,
I would have thought that Vader at this point, it's been what, 10 years?
Yeah.
I would have thought that Vader would have been enough of a monster for the Empire, such a figure for them that Obi-Wan would have heard about Vader.
You would think, yeah.
But maybe he didn't know that Vader and Anakin were the same person.
I think that's kind of where they were going with it. And it's like, because it seems like when they said, "Oh, Vader," he finds out or hears about him, he's like, "Oh man, he's dangerous." But he didn't seem so shocked, like, "Oh my gosh, he's coming to kill everybody." He kind of like, I think part of him thought, like, "Is that? No, it can't. No, it's not him. I'll watch that kid die." And it was all that journey of like really coming to terms with like what was going on and who he was and what he was there for. And as soon as he realized who it was, he's like, "Oh, he's coming after me." Like,
right.
He kind of knew that.
I do feel like in many ways, this is we think, oh, this is a story about him going and rescuing Leia, but really this quest to go and save Leia and bring her back, and also defend Luke, it really is the start of the redemption of Obi-Wan, right? That finally it is what kind of breathes life back into him and re-energizes him and refocuses him. And really, I think the idea of him finally healing a little bit, I think that's what we really see here throughout this series.
And honestly, I was a little disappointed watching the entire series and not having Yoda in there at all. Because at that point, Yoda's still alive.
Right.
You know, he goes I don't know how long he's been on Dagobah, but unless from the episode 3, he just goes straight there and starts living. But I really want to see a Yoda journey. I don't know.
I mean, and that's part of the problem is that Yoda essentially, right at the end of episode 3, goes into that capsule and goes off to that swamp planet. You know, that was his way, just like Tatooine was for Obi-Wan, Dagobah was for Yoda. And frankly, Obi-Wan had his hands full as far as, you know, he didn't have time to go and wander about the galaxy at that point.
Finding Yoda, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I felt like Yoda would sense it, though. But maybe it was, well, I was going to say maybe Yoda kind of fell out of the Force a little bit, but he was just as strong with it by the time Luke goes there to get trained. He's still there, like, he's acting goofy, and I love that. Like, watching the Empire Strikes Back, it's like, like, he's all goofy and weird and stuff. He's like, play yo-yo, build Lego sets, we will, yes.
Right.
And he's just so goofy, and I love it. Then at that point, like, he gets into his house to eat dinner, and he's like, "Train him, I will not." And it's like, oh, now you're serious. I thought he was just senile and crazy, but it was like all an act, which I love the Yoda character. He didn't get enough time in the movies as a whole. Looking back at it, it's like, okay, he had that movie that, I don't know. Hopefully they do a story with Yoda that bridges from Obi-Wan, the end of Obi-Wan, to say episode 4, somewhere in there. We see maybe a sitcom, kind of like WandaVision, but a sitcom with Yoda, like, neighbor came over, he did. Borrow sugar, he must.
That would certainly be interesting. So I've got to say, I know that one of the characters who had gotten, I think there are 2 characters really in Obi-Wan who have gotten, I think, a lot of attention that's negative, has been the character of Riva Savander. She played third sister, one of the Inquisitors.
Oh, yeah.
That was played by Moses Ingram. And so what do you say about people who they watch episode 1 or they watch episode 2 and immediately they start calling out and saying that they don't like Riva, and they're giving their hatred and anger towards Moses Ingram?
I don't know. I think people as a whole, I'm not including like everybody into that, but overall, like the average idea, I think it's like, oh no, another badass female. We've seen this too many times. I think that's part of it. I don't know, honestly. It's like, because everybody hated the new trilogy with like, oh look, it's this, I forget her name. Oh gosh, what is her name?
It's with Rey.
Rey, yeah. Everybody hated that. I think it was an interesting story. I didn't mind it. I don't think it was as strong as the original Star Wars trilogy, but I hate it.
I will say that it is my least favorite movies of the Star Wars episode that we've been given.
I would put episode 3 over them, but I would put 1 and 2 after them, I think. Because episode 1 was all like Jar Jar Binks running around like, oh no! Oh yeah, that was Yoda. He's like, oh no, Misa think Anakin gonna die. Like, and that's all it was, and I'm just like, which is fine, but it's just, I don't know, it was like too much frantic running around, like scared.
Here's what I'll tell you is, having grown up watching episodes 4, 5, and 6 multiple times, and then finally being able to go back and see how all the pieces that went into place to connect those together.
Yeah.
They made a lot more sense. Specifically, episodes 2 and 3. I'll admit, I remember people lining up and literally camping out for days to go and watch episode 1. And there were a lot of very pissed off people because it wasn't the same. There was a lot of young Anakin and the pod racing and that kind of thing. But episodes 2, episodes 3 for me, particularly 3, those were fantastic. And while not better than 4, 5, and 6, they are miles and miles better than 7, 8, 9.
I think so, because it had the most shock, even though you knew exactly what was going to happen by the end of that movie. You knew he was going to be Darth Vader.
Right.
You knew you were going to see the mask. You knew you were going to hear the breathe. You knew you were going to have all that. But with the new trilogy, it was like, oh, we're going to have her. And I think the end of it really pissed a lot of people off, too, because it was the rise of Skywalker, and there was not a Skywalker. It was just her taking the name Skywalker. It's like, that's cheating. You're stealing a legacy, and I get that. I still enjoy the stories. I still thought it was cool. And it was weird. I was pretty mad about how Luke died because he was up on a mountain, like meditating, like forcing his essence to fool Kylo Ren. And like that took so much energy out of him that it killed him. Like, why didn't you just go there and fight him and die for real? Like, it didn't make any sense as to why. I don't know.
No, I will say that I loved that moment. I realize we're completely off topic here. I did like that ultimate showdown on that red dust planet,
right?
Between Kylo and Luke.
It was a great scene. I just thought
it was a great scene, and essentially Luke does for the rebels what Obi-Wan did for Luke and Leia and Han. He was essentially going and projecting himself to distract Kylo long enough for them all to get away.
Right. And I think, too, that's another thing. It's like the new trilogy got as much hate as it did, or maybe not as much love as it could have, because they were essentially reboots of the first trilogy, the original trilogy. If you look like the point you just made with Luke and Obi-Wan and Rey and being the new Luke and the whole Skywalker name, like, they were doing the same exact movies basically in different orders and like moved around a little bit, but just in a new way. And I think that's what made a lot of people mad, because they could have just made true sequels instead of just rebooting or if you're going to reboot, just completely start over.
I think what I like about Obi-Wan Kenobi is the fact that there was something very familiar. There was a familiarity that connected us with that world. Specifically, we're connected to it through Ewan McGregor, right? Him being, the fact that they did not recast Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I would have hated that.
That was also. I was really glad that they also included or continued Jimmy Smits, who had played Senator Bail Organa. Same guy in the movies, he came back. And so I do feel like that continuity of the characters. I know there was some flack about the fact that Hayden Christiensen didn't really get a whole lot of screen time. However, even seeing him in whatever CGI capacity they brought him in was again a connection for us to hold
Right.
on to.
Yeah, and his involvement with that show was a lot more than a lot of people realize, because I read a bunch on this. It's Darth Vader was essentially 3 different people.
Yeah.
And they had a stunt guy, and I don't remember any of their names, honestly, or at least 2 of their names. One guy did the stunt fights, like all the lightsabers, the fighting. One guy did like certain scenes, and Hayden Christensen was actually in the suit performing in like some of the scenes. So I think maybe some of the scenes where him and Obi-Wan are just talking and not fighting, I think that's him in the suit. And then the article kind of focuses on like they didn't really need to get him. They didn't need to have him come back, because if you're just going to be in the mask and suit, like who knows? It could have been Ronald McDonald in the suit. Nobody would have known, or Pee Wee Herman or anybody. But he did do some voice later on at the end of the series. But I guess we'll go more into that as we get towards that direction. But
right.
It was, you're right. It did have that connection, that familiarity, and that it's like, okay, that brings me back to this.
I think we needed that. I really do.
Yeah.
So I will just say that as far as the Moses Ingram, Riva Savander third sister debate, number one, I just feel like people were too quick to rush to judgment about not liking her.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at her over the course of the series, and as we continue to learn about her, number one is that she's just tenacious.
Oh, definitely.
Tenacious, powerful, driven. And, at first we wonder why is it that she's so determined to punish the Jedi. I kind of thought that she was doing it because the Jedi had abandoned her and the other kids.
Yeah.
That we find out later on, though, that she became an Inquisitor to ultimately get herself close to Vader. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I like that story, and it reminded me a lot of Savitar in The Flash, in a different way, but there was some similarities there, because we find out, the moment we find out like who she really is, I'm like, oh, and that really takes us back, another connection to the past movies. I was like, okay, this is amazing. Turns out she's like the one surviving youngling that Anakin demolished all of them, like, ah, ha, 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 and then kills them all, but one survived to try to chase him down. So she was actually Anakin Skywalker, because he had to kill himself to create. Okay, no, I'm not going there. But but yeah, I thought that was really cool how they connected those 2 things together.
Yeah. There was that scene where Obi-Wan had realized not only that she was one of the younglings, but that she was hunting Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And he had said what was it? I'm not.
I remember.
Vader isn't coming for me. I'm bringing Vader to you.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, mind you, we know, number one, that Vader isn't going to lose, right? Or he's not going to die. So whatever happens between her and Vader wasn't going to end very well.
No, because leading up to that, you thought, oh, she's just obsessed with him, like praise Lord Vader and all this stuff. But
yeah,
she was hunting him, basically. Like, yeah,
right. And we knew, as good as she is, she was no match for Vader.
No, not at all.
No.
He makes her the Grand Inquisitor at that point, and then you're like, oh wait, what? What's going on? But again, at that point, we don't know what she's really there for. But he knows the entire time what she's doing.
Yeah. He made it very obvious that he was aware, and he was allowing things to kind of play themselves out. And even that she's fighting him with a lightsaber, and he's force blocking everything.
And I liked her lightsaber.
Yeah,
it was something different. Every Star Wars, we get like a different thing. Like the original trilogy, we just had lightsabers. Then the new trilogy, we saw Darth Maul's double lightsaber, and I hated how quick Darth Maul was gone. I was like, he was so badass. Why did they not let him go to episode 2 a little bit and then die? But he had that double lightsaber.
Well,
and then,
I will reveal that, Darth Maul, depending on what you consider to be canon, I guess somehow Darth Maul comes back in some storylines, but that's not something we saw in the movies.
No, and I think Disney actually came out and said, like, any of this other stuff isn't connected anymore. Like, when Disney bought it, like, all those side stories, all the novels, and I've read some of the novels are great, where Luke trains his nephews, and Luke turns to the dark side. Like, those, I would love to have seen those movies.
Yeah.
And I'm frozen again, it looks like. Every time.
I know. Let's just keep on going.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm happy here to get on the Moses Ingram train and number one, support her. I think she was brilliant, fantastic actress, especially considering that she is not an actress that I had known previously and not a character that I had known previously. I thought she acted the pants off of it. The other character that I feel like gets quite a bit or has gotten quite a bit of attention and anger is Vivian Lyra Blair, who plays young Princess Leia.
Yeah.
And, number one, hating a child
right
is number one, the height of cruelty. That said, she plays a lot. She has quite a bit of a speaking role, quite a bit of time that she spends with Ewan McGregor. But I think that generally in the movies we give a lot of attention to Luke.
Yeah.
We get a lot of attention to Luke, and it's especially in regards to the Force.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's amazing seeing her as a child is that the Force really is strong with her too.
It is.
Maybe not in regards to like picking up and moving rocks or any of that, but whether it is her blocking her mind so that Riva couldn't read her thoughts, or whether it was just her storytelling and her precocious nature. I thought all of that showed that spirit in her. I thought that made her special. Now, is there maturity that you get as you grow up and you develop and everything else as an actress? Absolutely. I hope that this is merely just the beginning for her, that she continues acting and growing and getting better. But the little bit that we got from her here in this show, I was really happy with it.
You just call her Aunt Viv.
Right. Oh gosh. Well, what are they going to
recast? Yeah.
She'll get recast. That's what I was thinking.
No, Corey's here. You're here. Psychic connection, and we're just.
I know. But I really liked her. I thought she was, sweet and clever, and I think she did a great job of kind of pulling off that character.
I think so. I loved the little. Well, I was going to say betrayal, but like when her little droid was the tracker and like, they're like, oh my gosh. And he goes in there and rips the thing apart and nobody else can fit in the vent. So she has to climb up there and fix it. I loved all that.
Right. It's hilarious. It's like, somebody must have switched it to evil.
Yeah. I was kind of wondering where like R2-D2 and C-3PO were during this, but at the same time, it doesn't matter because like I loved how they put just enough to kind of put us in that direction, but not too much. Just to be like, oh, let's just do C-3PO again. Oh, here's R2-D2. Boom, boom, boom. It would have been too much, I think, if you had to.
I think what they did, they were trying to make this connection between her and Obi-Wan and the droid. Right. I think that was kind of letting us know that, Anakin had a thing for working with technology and building droids. As much as Luke had his piloting thing, being able to drive and pilot. Leia seems to have the technical aspect of things. I thought that was cool.
She must have fed Lola after midnight.
Right.
Well, I mean, I just realized we weren't flipped. Wow. Or, yeah, also, sorry, I'm off my game. 2 weeks off, and boom, there's our little tickers there. You can follow us on all the social medias.
Yeah.
It's not ticking, though. I don't see it ticking on my end. Oh, well.
It's moving on mine.
Okay, well, as long as it's moving, that's good.
It is definitely moving.
I think my computer's just, I don't think I turned it on since our last podcast, so I'm like, I need to start using it more. But yeah, where was I getting at? Oh yeah, the droids and stuff. Yeah, I like that. And I love the new droids. Every time there's a new droid. I like how they don't reuse the same exact ones. I mean, you see versions or similar droids in the background, but they focus on new. People hated BB-8, I think. It went away. There it goes. But I like BB-8 a little bit. I think I would have rather seen more R2-D2, but you can't have the same droid running around doing the same thing.
Right. I mean, I think that BB-8 was just, it was very obviously an attempt to
sell toys.
To recreate,
to
give us another version of R2-D2.
Yeah, and that explains it. I mean, because every time new droid, new toy, new character, new toy, which
right.
Nothing wrong with that.
You can't be surprised when Hollywood does what Hollywood does. So I think some things that happened in the story that were less believable. I mean, I realize if you're looking for plot holes, you're going to find them.
You'll find a couple. I don't think they're that bad though.
So the idea that Leia gets kidnapped, gets captured, and taken to where the Inquisitors are, their entire fortress, and Obi-Wan essentially with one other rebel, goes and tries to rescue her single-handedly.
Yeah.
Mind you, not necessarily out of character. We have seen him do stuff like that countless times before. That said, the idea that that's going to happen, considering how disconnected he is from the Force and everything else, that he's going to be able to infiltrate, get in there, get her out, and escape.
Yeah. I was like, "This is something you can't. You're an old man. We're not even an old man yet. He's just all like slow and tired. And it's like,
yeah,
I guess I'm gonna like dust this jacket off and." Oh, that's how it works. And it was almost like Luke and A New Hope trying to do that.
Yeah.
Actually, they did do that, and he won. But he had a ton of people with him. It wasn't just Luke. So that was... I didn't think about that one, really. I mean, looking back, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's true. It was a little unbelievable.
We didn't talk about the first interaction with Vader and Obi-Wan.
Right. That happened earlier on, actually, like the 3rd or 4th episode.
I think that was even before that.
It could have been, yeah.
I think it was like episode 2 or 3.
Maybe it was 2 or 3. I can't remember the exact moment, because after that first moment, you see a lot of Vader going forward.
Yeah, you really do. I think that so he goes into that town looking for Jedi, but specifically looking for Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And he senses him. I mean, I think that we think sometimes we forget just how powerful Vader really is.
Yeah.
There is no exaggeration about how powerful he is, and even though there's very little of the Anakin that we know left, turning to the dark side has only made him that much more powerful.
Never underestimate the power of the dark side.
Yeah, but I mean, the idea, like he's yanking people out of their houses.
Yeah, he was throwing them across the street.
Right.
The That was cool. I love that scene actually.
Yeah, even that scene where, you know, they're there on the kind of in the desert, and he pours like the gasoline on the ground and
Oh
lights it
yeah,
on fire, and then
yeah.
drags Luke, or not Luke, but Obi-Wan through the flames.
Burning him. Yeah, he's like paying you back.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
love
mean,
that.
there was that whole idea about him. The last time that they had met, Obi-Wan had abandoned him after having the high ground and cutting off his
legs and
legs.
like, yeah.
Yeah. So there was that thing coming full circle,
Mm-hmm.
that he was going to, burn and make Obi-Wan suffer like he had suffered.
Right. And then, how cool would it have been? I know it would have to branch off into another universe, but it would be cool if like he became like a good Vader and he had a white suit and he's like, Anakin, you could not destroy me. I am the good force. Like, I don't know that. Maybe not, but
I think it worked out in the way that it did.
yeah.
But even then, that idea, fire as a symbol has always been a powerful one. We know that fire can be destructive and consuming, but it can also be purifying.
Yeah.
Right? That in a lot of ways, Obi-Wan needed to be reminded about how serious the stakes were. Right? That here he had been running from this for 10 years, and now it was like right there in his face.
Corey is a psychic. Does he talk like Bane? And the whole time I was doing that, like, I'm Bane, not Darth Vader. But yeah, I do love. Gosh, I do love that fire. Actually, in the beginning, I never thought about it like that, where he was like, "Okay, I'm going to burn you back." I didn't really think of that. I thought they put the fire there just to stop it, and then like just part of it. I didn't make that connection at 3. Well, I did, but I didn't. I didn't think much about it.
You don't remember them, Vader literally dragging Obi-Wan through the flames?
I remember that, but I didn't at the time when I first saw it. I didn't really make the connection of like, oh my gosh, that's essentially what he did to Anakin. Like, I didn't really connect that immediately until a little bit later. I was like, oh, after he was like burned and they put him in that tube thing. I thought like they were gonna. I really did think they were gonna put him in some kind of suit or something, because like they had him in that tube with the water and everything and the hoses, and I'm like, oh my god. Then I forgot when I rewatched when I've been rewatching the original movies, they did the same with Luke. They threw him, I believe it was Empire Strikes Back, when he was stuck out in the open in Hoth and he was all like almost dead, and they put him in that like healing tube. But yeah, I didn't make those connections at first. I guess because I hadn't seen episode 3 in so long, even though the first episode shows us that really cool highlight, because I wanted to go rewatch the prequel trilogy. But then the first episode of Obi-Wan showed us like a 5-minute, like last time on Star Wars kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, that 5-minute or 3-minute clip, that's enough. I don't need to watch the first 3 movies.
Yeah.
I like that they did that too, because new fans of Star Wars that haven't went back and watched the first 6 movies, or all 9 movies really, then they could actually get a little review on that and go forward with it. And it helped refresh me enough to go into the show.
Yeah. I will tell you a pretty hot take that I actually like what they've done with The Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, and Obi-Wan better than episodes 7, 8, and 9. I actually like those stories far better.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I like, as far as stories go, I do. I mean, I never hated like 6 or 7, 8, 9, but they're not the best. I think they are some of the weakest. And it's just those stories, because it connects back to what everybody knows Star Wars for. It connects back to those classic stories, but expands on them. And imagine if Star Wars had done this 20 years ago. Like, I don't know if Disney ever would have got it. because like if George Lucas was like, why don't we make this show called Obi-Wan where we see him in a cave, and if they would have actually done these things as films back then, I think Star Wars had kind of like run into a little snag where they're like, oh, we're not doing much. Or you want to buy it for like 3 billion, 8 billion, whatever? Sure, go ahead. And I'm not using it anymore. I don't know. I think George Lucas might have just been tired. I don't know. But yeah, I love the new stories. It's almost like yeah, they're almost better than not anything we've seen before, but it's just the way to tell the old stories, but through a different lens, I guess. Like it's kind of like visualizations of the old novels. Not that they're the same stories, but in that same way of like these novels continued the journey of all these characters, but yet nobody's going to make a movie about that. But now they're doing that.
Yeah. I mean, again, I really love how they are connecting the prequels with the original the original 4, 5, 6. I just enjoy how they're connecting the dots.
I still want to see a little bit more of Obi-Wan's origin, like a series where he grew. I mean, not from birth, but from the time maybe he was about Luke's age, which he probably was around Luke's age from the original trilogy when we first see him in episode 1. He's probably in his 20s or something like that. But in the original trilogies, he keeps going on and on telling Luke that Yoda trained him. But he was all obsessed with Qui-Gon. He's like, where did Yoda train him? That was maybe another one of those sort of plot holes. But it could be explained. It's like, oh, well, Qui-Gon died and he wasn't fully trained. So between episodes 1 and 2, Yoda finished training him. Maybe.
Well, remember that Yoda is very old, right? Yeah. He's what, 900?
Something like that, yeah.
He had been a Jedi Master for a very long time. What we know is that when younglings are discovered to be Force sensitive, they are taken away from their families and raised at the temple. And so we know that that Obi-Wan had mentioned that he really doesn't remember his family.
That's true.
That the Jedi was his family. And so I'm guessing that long before he became a Padawan to Qui-Gon, that he had received direct tutelage from Yoda and the other members of the council.
That's true. I didn't really think about it that much, but yeah, I guess that could be explained. Not really a plot hole. But then again, like any sort of thing I think could be a plot hole in this story, I can find a way to explain it in my own head much better than I can The Flash, which maybe we'll talk about that next week because, oh my gosh, one more episode left of The Flash.
I mean, you think about how last episode of The Flash and last episode of Superman and Lois.
Yeah.
So I think next week is going to be an explosive week for reviewing those two shows.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So absolutely.
And then
I'd like to. Yeah. I mean, are we done as far as with Obi-Wan Kenobi here for tonight?
I think finishing up with the ending fight before we kind of go away from the topic because we don't really want to leave that off.
Yeah.
They get into this last fight and it's like, okay, it's a really good like lightsaber duel battle here and there, and then Obi-Wan gets buried in like the earth, and it's like right before Vader like closed him in with all the rock and everything. I was really hoping he'd be like, "It's over, Obi-Wan. Now I have the high ground."
Oh, I was really that line right there would have absolutely made it.
Yes.
And I wish they would have gone back and have added that because I was thinking exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
The I have the high ground would have been perfect.
That would have been amazing. Would have been better with fire, but I mean that was the perfect moment for him to say that.
But again, that moment right there was finally where Obi-Wan is reborn, right?
Yeah,
like we think he's dead, though again, we all know that he lives. But that he doesn't just crawl out, but he like bursts out, throws rocks at Vader, with a viciousness we hadn't seen before. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
He
it
just
was
kind of explodes out of that too.
right.
And he's like, now you don't have the high ground, Anakin.
Right. It's almost like I'm back, bitches. That was really the same kind of energy that he had there, So
Wait, why is he dancing and singing? It's Obi Wan that's back. Never mind.
yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great.
And we see again though by the end of that fight that when he gets himself together, he's reborn. He's like super Jedi mode. He's like and he's got his lightsaber and everything. He takes a slash at Vader's helmet, and I'm like, I knew he didn't kill him because we know the history what happens after this, but still, I was like, no way they're gonna make the helmet fall off. And then you hear like the muffled and broken breathing, and then you hear him speak through his own voice. And that's another plot hole that I've read about on the internet. Like, Vader can't talk without the helmet or he dies. Like, I don't think it was a matter of him being able to speak or not. I think the helmet was just a way to help him be menacing. I don't think he really needed the helmet the entire time. But anyway, like, it was so cool to see that part of his mask. We could see Anakin's eye, and we know that's Hayden Christensen there. He's got the I'm bald and broken makeup on, but you can see him and you can hear his voice come through. And you can hear the Vader voice mixed in, and the way they mix that sound together. And it just, oh my gosh, that might have been my favorite Darth Vader scene.
Yeah. I think the other part of it too is you realize that Obi-Wan had not seen Anakin's face since the day they fought.
Right.
In Revenge of the Sith. And that was to see what he had become, to see his face, how broken and ruined he was. I think that was a big moment for him. So
absolutely, because that's the moment he's like, I did this. This is my fault. And then I love how like 10 seconds later you see Vader in a new helmet, like, we must continue our fight or whatever. It's like, how did they fix it that quick? They got like 1,000, probably has a closet with like 1,000 helmets in it. He just puts a new one on. But I was kind of hoping he could fight more without the helmet on. Because you never see much of him once he becomes Vader, other than in Return of the Jedi, where he dies, and because Luke takes the mask off, and he's like, "Oh, Father," he's like, "Oh, my son, I'm holding a white guy, but you thought I was a really badass black dude." That's what everybody's reaction was originally.
Yeah. No, I think what's obvious to me is that we all feel like Vader is this badass that it's a weapon.
I'm a weapon.
What we don't realize, though, I think until the end, is that his outfit is a life support unit too.
It is,
right? Like,
yeah.
the very thing that makes him terrifying and menacing and protects him is also what's sustaining him. And the breaching his helmet or ruining his suit, it could eventually actually kill him.
It could. I think overexposure too, like without is, I've heard it referred to as an iron lung, kind of like that little box wasn't just like buttons and settings. Like, now I can sound like Yoda. Kill you, I will. It wasn't just a voice changer, which when I was growing up watching those old movies, I thought those were just buttons to change different voices. I didn't realize it was actually like essentially an oxygen tank.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And I think that we, if you knew that it was just keeping him alive, that it was a life support unit, it would make him seem less terrifying and menacing.
Right.
But I think that was part of the reminder, is that underneath all of that technology and underneath the costume and the mask is still a very ruined, broken. It's that same little boy that we had seen in the pod racing.
Oh, Annie, Misa, thank you. Come back. Yeah, it really was. But that last line that he really gives before he puts his new mask on, it's like, you didn't kill Anakin, I did, or whatever. That was like, ooh, that really made me look at Vader in a different way. Because he knew who he was, but he's like, because I've always thought, because people get mad at the end of the series where, well, not the end, but the end of Return of the Jedi, where he is redeemed and he becomes a Force ghost. And then later on, they added Hayden Christensen's image to that. And that is a little annoying. But I've always looked at that and, as like Darth Vader was like an evil demon that was created when the Emperor not betrayed him, but like seduced him to the dark side and all this stuff. And Anakin was still hiding out in there all scared, like, oh my God, where am I? Kind of like a mindscape from like shows like The Flash that we've seen, where he's like in a little cell trying to get out, like, help me, Obi Wan, you're my only hope. And when he finally sees like the Emperor killing his kid, he's like, wait, what? No, I'm alive. And he comes back out. Like, but it's really the same guy the entire time. There's no like demon possessing him, but that's kind of how I look at it in a way.
I know. I realize that not every villain deserves a redemption arc or should get a redemption arc. Yeah. And I know that there are a lot of people that say they equate Vader with, somebody as evil as Adolf Hitler. Does Adolf Hitler deserve a redemption arc?
I guess if he saved Jesus, maybe.
I mean, if Adolf Hitler had gone, I really feel bad about the 6 million Jews that I killed.
Yeah, he should.
I'm really sorry about that. Really, truly, I am. Now I'm a good guy.
As long as he dies right after.
Would that have changed anything?
No.
I think that people might go, we thank you for your apology. You're still going to die. And I think the fact that Vader's redemption is in sacrificing himself for Luke at the very end. I think that's essentially what wins him the ability to be a Force ghost.
Right. And it's not like people compare him to Hitler and stuff, which is a good comparison, but it's like, yeah, he didn't. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think you're right. I think, destroying the Emperor, destroying the Sith, like, it's almost like if Satan came out of hell and was like, wait, what am I doing? And this destroys all of hell. And God would be like, yo, that's what's up. And they'd fist bump and like they'd be friends. Like, I don't know. That's going a little crazy, but it's essentially kind of like that. It's like, okay, the spirits and the Force and all this. He had a lot of midichlorians and everybody's like, shut up about those things. Nobody likes midichlorians. But yeah, I think that's right. I think like, the the evilest, I don't know, whatever bad guy in the universe kills the worst bad guy. I think that is like something to be said about that. So I agree. But then the changing him from old man to young guy again, it's like, really? People thought that was inaccurate. And I was like, well, if you look at it, when Vader took his mask off, he was bald and scarred up. The old man in that Force ghost over there has hair and no scars. He never looked like that. But he looked like this. And so
it doesn't bother me. I can understand that Vader as a Force ghost or Anakin as a Force ghost would be depicted as him before he's ruined and twisted and turned to the dark side.
Yeah. Because that was Anakin. That was the moment Anakin died, was before he was all mangled and turned. So that's why I don't hate on them for it. So if you watch it on Disney Plus or any of these other platforms like that, now you'll see his younger Force ghost. Unless you have like an original DVD or VHS, then you'll be able to see the original version. But yeah, I think that was I think it's fine. It annoyed me a little bit because it's like, why change it? That's the part that gets me. It's like, why go in after like 30 whatever years, and you know what? Let's change this. Like, I don't know. I get it. They're wanting to connect it and everything, but
right. Yeah, it does connect the original 3 with the prequels. So I understand why they did it.
Mhm.
And I guess is the they can do whatever they want. I do want to talk about one thing before we kind of wrap things up here, and that yes, no, I think we really can't leave this discussion about Star Wars and about Obi-Wan and all of this stuff and not address the big white elephant in the room in regards to toxicity in the fandom.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, what's crazy to me is that there's so much to love about Star Wars and the material that's out there. And I'll admit that there are parts of it that I like more than others. But I don't think there's any of it that I absolutely hate.
Not
You know
even
what I mean?
Jar Jar.
I mean, I think
No.
if you look at Jar Jar as the comic relief,
Yeah.
That it's meant to be sort of like the funny joke in the midst of a very serious story.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That they were trying to establish a balance.
Nobody complained about C-3PO. Like, oh, R2, you are such an asshole. Like, he didn't really call him that, but he was trying to say it. Like, he was really
Right.
annoying and bossy and kind of a bully. But everybody loves C-3PO.
Well, but he was also, there was a lot of comic relief in the character of C-3PO.
There was, yeah.
Right? So, again, when we talk about, there are people who, for whatever reason, they bring a lot of negativity into the fandom. And I get it. We're all passionate about this. We all have different feelings about it. And we don't all feel or think the same things. And I wish that while people had strong feelings and different opinions about Star Wars material and the different shows and movies and material that's out there, I wish people were more open to sharing how they feel without necessarily bringing hatred into it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because we've seen so much of that. The young kid who played Anakin Skywalker in Episode 1 completely left acting.
And he would have been like, there would have been no Hayden Christensen. It would have just been that kid. I think I think he was supposed to be in Episode 2, or maybe they recast on purpose anyway because.
Well, I mean, I think he was definitely younger.
Right.
I don't know as if his age worked out, but you understand though that he did Episode 1 of Star Wars, and that he never did another movie again.
Right. Yeah.
Why? Because of the toxicity and the hatred of the fandom. And I know that Star Wars is not the only group of fans that has that. I mean, it seems like whether it's comic books and superheroes, or Marvel or DC, or name your show, you got people who love to hate on it, or feel so strongly that their opinion is the only one that's valid, that they're gonna crap all over it, or anybody that has an opinion that's different from theirs. But I do feel like, especially right now, it has become a pastime to, tear each other down and rip on it, go to social media and attack celebrities.
Very good point. Very inappropriate for him to have a baby with Natalie Portman. He's just 9 and she's 14. Like, if we remember the Weird Al song, remember that song he did of Episode 1? I forget what they called it, but it was like, now it's going to be stuck in my head all night.
Bye, bye, Mr. Anakin guy. Maybe Vader someday later, now he's just a small fry.
I have nothing to do with the song, but I'm a guy. I don't know. I was trying to go with it, but Yeah, I love that song. I that makes me like the movie more because of that song. I don't know, but it was inappropriate. He was a little kid and she was a teenager. I'm like, really? But I don't know.
Yeah, I love that one too. Hilariously, there are a number of weird, and this is totally off topic, but
Yeah,
there are growing up very conservative and Christian. Um, there were a number of songs that I learned from Weird Al that I thought were the original versions of songs. I didn't
yeah,
know. I didn't know that there were real songs that those were based off of.
right. Yeah,
Um, and then I would go back and hear the original, and I would think that they had ripped off Weird Al.
I'm like, this is a terrible cover of Weird Al.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that happened quite a bit. I'm sad to admit it, but
I was angry the first time I heard that real song. It's a good song, but like the first time I heard the real one, I'm like, this doesn't talk about Star Wars at all. And I don't know.
Well, hey, I feel like we've been pretty thorough as far as with Obi Wan and Star Wars, and we've somehow managed to do it without getting a whole bunch of people ticked off at us or.
Yeah, wait till the comment section.
I know. Wait till the comment section.
Jeez. All 700 and however many of you that watched our interview with Eric Wallace. Oh God, I said his name. Now we're gonna get hate. Jeez.
It's crazy because the interview with Eric Wallace was
great.
So much fun.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. I thought that though I share some of the feelings that many people did about that left comments in not necessarily liking the direction that Flash has gone in the last couple seasons. But that's not because I don't like Eric Wallace as a person. And I thought that he did a fantastic job of at least giving us, the process of why he does what he does.
Right. I think I agree with him more than some of the people in the comments, but I also won't sit just because I don't like one story arc he's written or whatever. I'm not gonna. He's the worst ever. He's the most stupidest, terrible writer in the world.
Yeah.
Like, really? Have you seen Naomi at all?
No. What's crazy for me is, one of the reasons why when we had our interview with him that I had asked him about how he deals with the haters is because I was very aware, even before we had our interview, that Eric Wallace is a divisive figure, right? There are people who, when they hear his name and know his involvement with Flash as showrunner, that they do not like the direction that he's taken the show, and they blame him for it specifically.
Well, he finally gave everybody what they wanted and killed Iris.
Right.
Well, spoilers.
I think at this point, if you don't know that, you need to go back and watch it. But you either have people who are pissed off that Iris has gotten any time at all, and they're happy that she's dead, or you have people who Iris hasn't been given, hasn't been treated with the dignity that she deserves, or she's not treated as an equal with the Flash.
And then you have people that when she gets her business and she's doing her own thing, that's not realistic. She wouldn't have had an entire empire in a building in 3 weeks. Well, she probably would have. Barry makes a lot of money. They could have easily rented a building. Not that complicated.
It is crazy though. We had talked before, and I realize we're talking about Flash here, but we had talked before about Flash that.
Oh no, if that's true, then
I know. There's no way. There's no way. But no, I think we had thought that at some point, that she and Barry were going to have to make kids, right? That their children have to come from someplace, and yet, Barry was involved with Team Flash. She was involved with Team Citizen. They're not even spending time together at home. With the entire season, they have been separated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And a lot of people hate that.
Yeah, they've been separated the entire time. You know, and you know, she had her time sickness, which kept her out of town, and then she's been gone for 4 episodes, and nobody seems to even talk about her. Which to me is the crazy part. Like, I don't know how your wife's gone for a long time, and you're not doing everything you possibly. I definitely wouldn't be sitting down playing a game of D&D.
All happy, like, ah!
I'm like, no, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
So those have all been odd for me, but I think that I'm gonna wait until next week and see how things play out.
Yeah, because this coming Wednesday is the season finale, so we're gonna have a lot to talk about on
Flash
Sunday.
Season finale and Superman and Lois season finale
In the same week.
I know.
Jeez, it'll be a 2-part. I mean, not a 2-part episode, but like we'll talk about both things. We'll spend half the time talking about Flash, Superman, and Lois. It'd be great. I'm excited to see how both shows end.
Yeah, and if you haven't been watching, what is it? Miss Marvel.
Yes.
Miss Marvel is really, really good.
I haven't seen the 3rd episode yet, but I have been watching a little bit of it.
I really like it. It's a lot of fun. I think that it's a nice change of pace from the other shows.
And I've gotten a little familiar with that character because I played the Avengers video game, Marvel's Avengers on Xbox, which it's on other game systems too. But that story focuses on that character, where she goes to a convention, she gets powers. It's a little different than the way the story in the show has gone, but it's the same overall premise of Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
So in the game, it's a little bit more like the adventures have been broken up for years, sort of like at the beginning of Endgame. And she's like, "Oh, come on, guys!" And like she kind of brings them together through necessity. It's an interesting game, but I definitely like the story and the character in the show.
All right. Well, I think we are right at the end here.
Kamala runs better than Leia at least.
Right.
And she's better. She's a better shot than stormtroopers.
She is. Well, I think this is a good a time as any to call it a night.
Yep.
But hey, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Let's not wait. Great. Let's not wait as long in between episodes.
Yeah, I think we'll be back next week definitely to talk about Flash and everything, because it's still one of my favorite shows somehow. Nostalgia, I guess.
I think you can love a character and still not necessarily enjoy everything about it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I get that.
All right. Well, yeah, it's been fun. It's good to be back on after a little break. And I guess that was our season finale and our premiere. I don't know. We're on breaks like Superman and Lois. Like every 2 seconds they have a 4-week break.
My God, I feel like you show an episode and then 2 weeks off, and then show an episode and then 2 weeks off.
Remember that show came out, like that season dropped in January.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be July. Well, will it be July? Very close to July by the time the season finale hits. So it's like a good 6 months. And it's like, wow. Anyway, yeah, we can talk on and on about so many things, but it's a good time to wrap it up. It's actually getting pretty warm in here. I turned the little air conditioning thing off. And I'm wearing a black t-shirt and a hat. I don't know what's wrong with me. But yeah, we'll talk next week about Flash and everything else. And hopefully I don't buy too many more Lego sets and things before then. I have to pay rent for July.
Oh, we know that you're going to.
I mean, my little desk area here is cluttered with Ninja Turtle stuff. Like they're all over. Shredder, Splinter, Little Splinter. I don't know if I showed this before, or did I show these? This is Baby Splinter in the cage.
Wow.
From the movie before he gets attacked by Shredder, or before he gets his ear cut off. And the Roku Saki and Hamato Yoshi figures I have. I'm not gonna pull up every figure, but like, oh, I have defended the honor of my woman. That's woman in Japanese. That was kind of bad. I was just trying to do an impression that came out terrible. It's the classic sign of us needing to leave the show. So everybody have fun, not hating on us on these comments. And yeah, have a good day and eat your vitamins.
All right.
Or whatever. I got to come up with a tagline at the end, like, and the more you know, or something. I don't know. Oh, adventure, excitement, a Jedi craves not these things, something. I don't know. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week, and I'll have something better to say at the end.
All right. Take care.
See ya. May the Force be with you. With the Force. Yeah. See you guys.